Welcome to the Damascus Encounter, where we share stories, very beautiful stories that people have in terms of experience. And always, Jesus comes in and there is that conversion experience that is always so enthralling. Now, the conversion story for every individual could be very unique. Some of them are long and winding, some very brief. Today on the program, we bring you a story, an experience that is a little long, but at the end of the day, it adds up because Jesus had it all put together all along. I have with me in the studio, Pastor Israel Oyinloye, who will be sharing his story with us and how he came to become a pastor and became a Christian. Pastor Israel, welcome to the Damascus Encounter.
Thank you very much.
So let's start looking at your story, a very beautiful one. And let's go back to the very, very beginning of how you were born and the story behind your birth.
When I was born, I don't have the name Israel.
Okay.
My name from my birth was Muyiwa Adepiton.
Muyiwa Adepiton. Okay. So how did this all happen?
My birth, everybody knows me as Oyinloye.
Okay.
That's my father's name. Yes, that's my father's name. My father came from a royal family.
Okay.
He was a son of the former king of Ori of Fortune.
Okay.
Oba Ewedumoye.
All right.
Ori of Fortune. My father's name was Prince Adedoyin Oyinloye.
Okay.
My birth began, the story about himself too. When he was growing up, I was told in the story that when he was growing up, remember at the time that Baba was ruling the Otun. Otun is a center of the Mamba that has 16 provinces around. Okay. Igogo, Ikun, Erimope, Aye, all those, right. 16 stories. So Baba was the king, Ori was the center, and Otun is the head of them. My father's mother came from Ikun. I was told she was taken to the palace as a tribute from Ikun to Otun. Okay. So that's how my grandmother came as a Olori.
So Ikun was one of the provinces under
Otun.
Okay, and so in form of tribute, your grandmother was brought
to the palace, the most beautiful from Ikun to Otun.
Okay.
So my father was the only son of my grandmother. My grandfather, the king, married 60 wives. So you can count different women as a tribute to the palace.
Coming to him, 60 wives.
60 wives at the end of the whole reign of his reign in Otun.
Okay.
He has 60 wives. Okay, my father was one of the many children from the 60 wives. My father, we were told on the story, as the king, people come to the palace to settle quarrel and things.
Okay.
One of the family from Inisha in Otun came to settle a quarrel. And at that time, that woman was pregnant. And after the settlement of the quarrel, the king, Baba, told them that if this woman give birth and the child is a woman, it's a girl, my son, one of my sons, will marry.
Okay.
And if I hear any voice, any noise from that family again, this woman will not leave the palace again. That was the tradition at that time.
Okay.
And that was many years ago, more than 60 years ago.
So that statement, if this child, the pregnancy, if the woman gives birth and happens to be a girl child, my son would marry. Was it a wish or it was an instruction?
It was a command.
It was a command. So
and it was now a joy. You can't contest it.
There was no way anybody could contest it.
No, but it's a joy to that family. That means they will become, their son will become
part of royalty.
Royalty.
Oh, okay.
So, fortunately, the woman gave birth to a girl.
Okay.
And they came to the palace to remind Baba. And were told that, Baba, yes, I remember. And they called the chief in that place. And they say, yes, the family has been at peace since then. So please, Baba, accept the child. So Baba accepted the child. And when he looked back at the palace, said, who is there? My father was the one who was say, Adedonyi, say, come, go and call Olori. And Olori can say, okay, this is your wife.
Olori is the queen, the head queen.
Yes,
the queen regent.
So that is my grandmother. Now came and now said, Queen, this girl is the wife of your son.
Okay.
My father was still in the primary school that time, and I was told that that child is just a few days old. So that's how we can say the marriage began. So the thing was zeal. They said every year they will send emissary there, they will send yam to that place. And that's
so the family of your mother?
The family, not really my mother. That's how the journey of my father began.
Okay.
I'm trying to lay a little foundation.
Okay.
So when my father now grew up and wanted to go to teacher training, my father ended up at Adventist Teacher Training College in Otun.
Okay.
Where he met my mother.
Okay.
And at that time in the palace, I was told, whatever the school you go to, that is where you become, that is the kind of religion you have.
You adopt, okay.
So, my father, the palace has no religion.
Meaning there were so many religions
so
and
many
all religions were
Baba
accepted.
himself is an idol worshipper.
Okay.
And is very, very powerful in Juju. He was very, very powerful in Juju. He has no religion. But he allowed the missionaries to come to Otun. And he gave them his children, and they become members of their churches and also Muslim.
So whichever school or denomination any of his children went to, they became a part of that denomination.
Yes, and he accepted. He doesn't say, he doesn't.
So how many denominations at the end of the day?
As Oyinloye,
yeah.
we have almost everywhere. We have Baptist, we have Catholic, we have Methodist, we have pastor in the Redeemed today. Kayode Oyinloye is a pastor in Redeemed. We have, but it's a Methodist, a priest.
Was
we
anybody,
have Muslim.
okay, any Muslim?
Yes, we have Muslim. We have them. We have Olaji there. So we have children. We have Oyinloye. They are still the same Oyinloye.
Okay.
So we don't have one common denomination.
Okay, so your father went to Adventist Teachers Training College.
Yes.
And there he met someone.
And then he met my mother.
Your mother. And
Felicia Aduke, Olajide met at that time, and they became their love.
They became friends.
They became
and
friends.
Love happened.
Yeah.
But then he was married to somebody in the past.
Well, he was married traditionally. Okay. And according to him, Olori didn't tell him on time. It was when he now told Olori as the mother, Mama, I found a girl I want to marry. He said, no, you cannot marry. You have a wife right away from your youth.
And it was compulsory, he must marry.
He must, according to the tradition.
Wow.
Now, luck went round on him again. They said, okay, who is this? So they went to the palace. They went to the king. That, Baba, this is what your son says. They said, no, he has a wife. Send to the chief in Indonesia and bring the woman. So they introduced. I said, okay. My father said, no, that I have somebody I want to marry. So by the time I said, who is the guy? Mentioned, where is he coming from? My mother came from a common house. And I was told it was a taboo for a prince to marry from a common house. So two things went against my father immediately. Number one, you have been given a wife from your youth.
Birth.
Two, the woman that you wanted to marry is from a common house. You cannot marry. So you have to go back and marry that lady.
So at the end of the day, royalty and a common lineage, there was no mixture.
Royalty prevailed that he cannot marry my mother. And that gave a heartbreak to him, according to him.
And so how did your mother take it?
So he decided that, okay, if that, sometimes boys are stubborn. He said, no, I must marry, I must marry. I must marry her, I must marry her. So from there, my pregnancy came.
Okay, so against the wish of the king and
the
so
the king said, that was told, he told me, said the king said, well, since that is what he wanted to do, why can't I allow him? But Olori said, no. My son, the only son I have, and 60 wives means 60 Olori. And to her, that's the only son. The rest are female children.
Okay.
So which means he can become a king or his children can become a king.
Okay.
So if he now go and marry from a common house, then that closed the door.
It will be difficult for him to ever become
so
king.
That is why the Olori said no. And no, no. So, not very long, Baba died.
That's the king?
The king.
Okay.
And so that gave room to send the woman away and marry the woman that the king gave to my father.
So he sent the woman that was originally from birth, that was supposed to be his wife, away?
No, that's at the thought of marrying my mother now died naturally. Because the king that should have allowed that marriage to come through died. The Olori now has the upper hand to say, my son, you cannot marry that woman because she's from a common house. The woman that was given to you is the one you must marry.
Okay.
So the woman was brought to the palace and they conducted the marriage.
Okay.
Don't forget, at that time, there's already a pregnancy. So despite of the pregnancy, they said no. So the woman should go. I was told that when they came, before Baba died, he was told of the pregnancy. And he said, okay, bring the woman. Bring the chief in that community. And he said, okay, the pregnancy, said, are you the owner of the pregnancy? He said, yes, okay. The child will be ours, but the woman will not be.
Okay. Because
she's from a common house. At my birth, January 15, 1966, Baba is not yet dead. There was everybody knows that time was a war.
The civil war in Nigeria.
Civil war in Nigeria. So there was a problem in the hospital, and that was when I was born, January 15. So everybody ran. So they took me, a day-old child, and ran to the palace. And the taboo in the palace is the king does not see a day-old child.
The tradition in the palace?
The tradition in the palace.
Okay. The king does not see...
Open his eyes to see a day-old child. If the king see a day-old child, that child must die.
Wow.
That is a tradition in Ori and also in Ife.
Okay.
I'm aware of that too. The Oni of Ife also does not see a day-old child.
Okay, so we'll hold that thought. When we come back after the break, you tell us what happened. Did the king see the day-old child or not? And we get to talk about that after this time out. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Damascus Encounter. Before we took that break, we were sharing with Pastor Israel Oyinloye. So, Pastor Israel, you were rushed to the palace, and the king must not see a day-old child, yet you were a day old at the time. What happened when you were brought in?
Well, I was told that the MSA have to shout, and then they rushed to the king, and they used the crown to cover him.
Okay.
And they took me in, according to the story, but the king still knew that a day-old child came into the palace. And they said they should bring the child. Everybody was shouting, the Olori was running on the ground and pleading. I was told everybody was pleading with the king that please, don't see. But he said, bring the child. So they still covered his face, and they used the lekeyum to cover his face, but he now used his staff, and I was told he placed it on me, and he prayed. Not a Christian prayer, for an incantation. Traditional. And he now instructed to be giving me some concoction to be using. And if I'm able to live after the 7 days, then God has a purpose for my life.
So you had 7 days from that time?
From that time to live. And after 7 days, I didn't die.
Of course, that's why you are here today.
Yes, and but the concussion continued on me.
Okay, so
I remember
the
in my youth,
concussion. What was this?
I don't know the.
Well, not necessarily the content, but what was what was it supposed to be for?
To appear and also to the effect of that day. What I know is I have stomach problem.
That's the effect of you, the king, seeing
See
that
me.
day-old
So
child.
instead of death, I started having stomach problem that will be
Very recurrent.
Very recurrent till my baptism, till 1982. I had it almost every 3 days, sometimes 7 days, and sometimes a whole day. It will come with no cause.
And once the concussion is
Yes,
applied,
when I take the concussion, it goes. So it's not the issue of tablet, it's not the issue of hospital.
okay,
So I knew that, and I dare not go away from it.
anywhere without it.
Once I have it, I will run home and take it, and it will survive. So that's how I was. That's how I grew up. So after my birth, and after a few days, my mother went back and they said, Baba said, well, the child is ours, but the woman is not. So they brought the woman that was given to my father.
To your father.
And they got married. And they have a traditional marriage for her and settled. And so my mother was allowed to take care of me for a few months or so.
There in the palace.
There in the palace. Then she went back to her parents.
So when she was leaving, she took you along?
She took me. She had to take me along.
Okay.
She took me along. And my father was told, out of annoyance after the death of the king, they now took my father so that he can be away from my mother. I took him to Germany. And he went to Western Germany, and he was there. So my mother, after a while, after he weaned me, after a year or two, then he couldn't see my father. She waited for some time. She couldn't see my father. She now married a Muslim.
Okay.
Late Alhaji Uthman Olarewaju. And I was brought up in that house. I knew that man, Alhaji, as my father.
As your father.
Who was my stepfather.
Okay.
But I knew him as my father, which now took me to Ansaruddin Primary School.
So you started out as a Muslim?
I started as a Muslim.
So how much of Islamic activities did you get into as a child?
I used to go to the Islamic school, and I go to Ilekeu. I don't know the English of Ilekeu Islamic school also. So you can call this Islamic school.
Yeah, Islamic school, yeah.
Islamic school.
Where you learn the Quran.
Yeah, where we learn recitation.
Okay.
And I used to follow him because I am the firstborn of that family.
Yeah, so since he married your mother.
He married my mother, and he came, so I became the.
Okay.
So the man loved me. He took me to the mosque, and I used to go. And I remember from the age of 6, 7, I used to call prayer. And everybody loved me because I have a very soft voice, and small boy calling prayer.
So calling prayers, is that getting on the megaphone and
in the
calling
morning,
people for prayers
6
early in
a.m.
the
I was
morning?
there. In the night, I follow him. So I get interested, and I love. So I brought up in that way. And throughout my primary school, I was doing very well in the school and in the Quran, and I loved it.
And then something happened. You had to go to
After my secondary school, I remember I wrote exam at the Notre Dame Ado or so, and I passed. I have so many schools around me that I passed, but my mother insisted that I will go to Ede.
Why? What was special about Ede?
There are two things she told me the reason. Number one, she knew that I'm a royal child, but they didn't tell me. And two, I was a bit stubborn, and she wanted me to be a good Muslim. So two of them, my mother and my stepfather, agreed that I should go to Ede. Ede is a Muslim town.
Community, okay.
And they have a good Muslim school. At that time, there's no Muslim secondary school in Otun. or the environment.
Okay.
So their intention was for me to go to a Muslim secondary school since I'm already interested in it, and my mother wanted me to serve God.
Okay.
So she told me she wanted me to be a good Muslim. So they sent me to Ede. Unfortunately, when they got to Ede, the people told them the best school is at Oyinloye. They called Adventist Grammar School Oyinloye that time, far away from the town. That is the best school.
So, instead of a Muslim school,
they took me with the intention of taking me to, they thought that all the schools in Ede are Muslim school, according to the story.
okay,
So the MSF took me there, and they took me to Adventist Grammar School. Myself, I don't know it's Adventist Grammar School. My thought and my reason was it's a Muslim school because everything in my brain is Muslim. It was when I got to the school, I discovered no Quran. They were singing the song I've never heard. They were reading, I don't understand.
so you were in a strange place.
Very, very strange. And there was no phone to call my mother or to call Alaji that these people have made a mistake. Because they just dropped me. They made some conversation with the principal. I don't know what they did. They just dropped me in the dormitory and they left.
And so you had to start getting into...
In the evening, they called us, they were singing. It was the song, I couldn't remember the song. They were just singing that. I don't understand the song, which I now knew it was maybe a praise song.
Okay.
So I began to ask questions. That was, later I got to know it was a Christian school. What is Christian? I don't understand. What are they reading? Bible. What is Bible? I don't understand. So that was where my confusion started. And I got to know of the Black Book because of my curiosity. I want to know what is there.
The Black Book meaning the Bible?
The Bible.
Okay.
Because the man that was standing was reading the Black Book. That's the name I can call it that time. That's why Black Book, which I know is Bible. So the story they were telling me from the Bible was different from the story I knew, especially the story of Abraham, the story of Isaac. And Ishmael. Okay. They said it in a different way. They said it in a wrong way. Ishmael is supposed to be the firstborn.
Okay.
And they said Isaac was the firstborn. I said no.
Okay.
That was when I knew. They said so many things, but I couldn't remember. But I know that the climax of my getting interested to know about what is in the book was that story. I said, no, it's wrong. You are wrong. Ismail is the firstborn. Is the son of Prophet Abraham. Isaac is the bastard boy. So, and I said, no. Then I want to know what is in the book. Then I brought my Quran out. Reading. That was when I knew the Daris.
Okay, Elder Enoch Dare.
Elder Enoch Dare and the wife. So I think they came into rescue and tried to understand and know a little about me. So they were soft on me. So the Dare took me and they gave me understanding about...
Started teaching you?
Teaching me. So Mama was very soft to me. So then, Mama was not teaching in the school, but Baba was the principal.
Okay.
Mrs. Becky Dada.
Okay.
Thank you. She was the vice principal so that time. So she took me also. She gave me the Bible. I requested for the Bible. Then I started reading. At that time, I was a few months after. Now, after my first time, I went home.
All right.
And I told Alaji that the school they took me to was a wrong school.
It's not a Muslim school.
That they are reading one book they call Bible. So he said, no, don't go again. I said, no, I've made friends. Please let me go. Don't worry. That I will teach them lesson there. That I'm going to deal with them.
Okay. That
they are teaching wrong lesson. They are teaching people wrong thing.
And you are determined to teach them the right thing.
I determined to teach them the right thing.
All right.
Then I've made friends, which I couldn't make friends. The kind of treatment I'm receiving there is different from what I'm receiving in the Quran school. So I love that place. So I said, let me go back. Don't worry. So I went back. My going back was when I started reading the Bible and the story of my life changed.
Okay, so tell me what exactly now caught your fancy or got you interested with the Bible.
Long and short, after a year, the AYs, they always take a parade around the town.
AY, that's the
Adventist youth.
Okay.
I mean the Pathfinders. I think
Adventist
the Pathfinder.
movement, okay.
So I follow them. No uniform, I just follow them. And when they go around the town on every Sabbath,
All right.
they end up in Mama Dari's house every Saturday evening.
As the principal's wife.
As the principal's wife.
Okay.
So but Mama will give them rice, but there will be no meat on it. So previous Sabbath, he will give them Bible quotation to recite. So when you recite it, she will give you meat on that rice.
That is, last Sabbath, she has given a Bible text.
Yes.
So if you come this week and you can recite the Bible text, you
get meat on your rice.
on your rice.
But if you don't, then there's no meat on your rice. So each Sabbath, I saw many people, they could not recite it. Then I said, what's wrong with these people? So one Sabbath, we went there, and I said, Mama, give me those Bible texts. So as they give it to them, when we got to the dormitory, I collected it, I crammed it. So the following week, I said, oh, Psalm chapter 1, verse 1, doesn't know. Say, I know, Mama, I will recite it. Then he give me extra meat.
So you had meat and meat and
so
meat.
I keep on doing that. As much Bible verse I was able to cram, more meat was coming to my rice. That helped me to go there every Sabbath. So when the youth are going, I follow them. Sometimes I cram up to 10 verses, sometimes 15. So when one was unable to recite, I will recite it. Then Mama will add meat to my rice. Sometimes I eat 10 meat, 15 meat. At a point, those Bible verses were contradicting the Quran verses in my brain. Then I got confused. I stopped going. I stopped the chapel. I was totally confused. Then I now took the Bible reading serious. I wanted to know which one is the truth story. Is it the Bible or the Quran?
The Quran. Okay, we'll come back and then we'll begin to delve into your studies into the Bible and how more light was shed on your mind and the insights you got and where it led you. That will be all on today's edition of the Damascus Encounter. Very intriguing story, you would agree with me, but it's taking us somewhere as we get to listen more to Pastor Israel Oyinloye, who will be sharing his story and how Bible reading now had great impact in his life. Until next time, I want to say, keep encountering Jesus and stay blessed.